Hi, we're the Emanuelsons. I'm John. This is my wife, Lauren. We have our children with us, Liesel and Evelyn and Ethan. And we serve the Lord in South Africa. We're focusing on reaching the Amazioni. Amazioni means people of Zion in the Zulu language. That's an African language. A mission started in the late 1800s, right at the turn of the century, in South Africa. It came from Chicago, Illinois, to South Africa. Now, the unfortunate thing is that the movement in South Africa didn't go the way it was intended to go. It became a syncretistic movement after about 10 years from when it started. And from there, it grew and grew to about 15 to 18 million people today in a handful of countries in southern Africa, including South Africa, where we're located. They've held on to some of the biblical teachings, like they acknowledge the Ten Commandments, they read the Bible, especially Old Testament stories, but they've combined that with the African traditional religion, which has to do with seeking their dead ancestors as mediators to be involved in their lives. Maybe if they need work or if something bad happens to them, they would end up going to a witch doctor who would say, okay, you need to offer sacrifices to your dead ancestors in order to bring better things in your life. They're realizing that that's not right, and now they're open, many of them, to just hearing what the Bible has to say about being a Christian.
One of the things that I get my hands more involved with is a publication that we put out for the Zion students called the Zion Banner. And this is just a 4-page publication that we try to get out a couple times a year, and it gives a history lesson for the students to learn more about their past and how the movement started out as an evangelical movement. And so that's interesting for them to read because they're so attached to their ancestry, their history, when they read, wait a minute, this movement focused on the Bible alone to begin with. That gets them thinking.
My job is mainly with the teaching ministry, so primarily at the ZEBS classes, the Zion Evangelical Bible Schools. Another thing I'm trying to concentrate on is working with groups of leaders or potential leaders to help them take the information from the Bible schools and then put it into practice in their church life. And it just gets real practical on things like baptism, Lord's Supper, church eldership. How do you practically put this into practice in your church? I was talking with one of our teachers. He was dropped off in a vehicle. I think there was 2 or 3 other people in the vehicle, and I saw that they were leaving and going somewhere else. So I thought I would just find out if maybe they were at an all-night service or something like that. Why was he being dropped off and they're off somewhere else? And he said, no, they're actually going to a funeral. Now, just to explain that, when the context of funerals among the Amazioni is a syncretistic funeral. It's not like a funeral we have here at churches. It has mainly to do with worshiping the dead, trying to contact the dead, a lot of rituals involved like that. And as I was talking with him, his name is Mr. Zingani, and he said, you know, he's done with all of that. He's done with the ancestral worship, basically is what he's saying. And that's a really, really big deal. The African traditional religion is such a big part of their culture, and when they just completely cut themselves off from that, it's a really big thing. So we're seeing things like that happen. We're seeing God work in the lives of people like Mr. Zingani, and as they're breaking away from the African traditional religion and focusing on the Bible alone as far as how we are to live as Christians. So that brings a lot of joy to see God doing miracles like that in people's lives. Really, the focus for us is seeing Amazioni start to become leaders among the African church. And I really think that's possible because these people are so hungry for the truth and they do not compromise. Once they kind of jump all in. So if they're jumping all into what the Bible teaches, and they're very much interested to study further, you know, some of them. And these are the type of people who could become really strong leaders of the African church. Thank you for your partnership. It's really exciting what God is doing right here in this part of the world through Village Bible Church, the various campuses involved, just hearing about that is really encouraging. God is definitely at work here, and it's just great having people like you partner with us, and just the kindness and generosity you've shown, not just your prayers, but also your financial giving and even special requests. You guys gave a generous gift towards a building project for our house, and that's been a tremendous blessing, and you guys have just been very kind to us. So we just thank you for that. We thank God for you.